you're undercapitalized when it comes to resources. All right. And the one big resource, which is time, is limited. And you're just like, you're trying to keep all the balls going.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Leadership Lab. I'm Henry Kirk.
And I'm Jonathan Aronson.
And today we're going to take a little bit of a change in direction as far as the format of the show. Today we're going to try an actual live coaching session where Jonathan is going to coach me. For those of you that may not know, I was laid off of Google back in January, and since then I've been trying to build a business. And I've been struggling with some things as I'm trying to get the business off the ground. So I thought it would be really helpful if I share some insight into my journey, and Jonathan will help me along with that. Isn't that right?
I hope so. I'll do my best, Henry. How's that?
Okay, great. All right, so we'll get going on here. But before we get going, please like this episode, subscribe, hit the bell button, everything that you need to do so you can get new episodes delivered to you every Friday. And we hope we're delivering value. So to kick this off, I am, look, it's hard starting a business. I'm working a tremendous amount of hours, and I'm finding myself kind of like overwhelmed or behind. I'm always trying to play catch up a lot of the days, especially with the amount of work that has to go into creating an estimate for a client that I'm working on. So, I mean, we were talking a little bit before, Jonathan, about, how might be able to help me, but I really could use some advice on just how to, be more diligent and get things done more on time, I guess, or how to scale myself or the business or something like that.
Okay. So if I hear you're looking for, well, when you mean how to scale it, what do you exactly mean by that?
Okay, so I'm one of 5 partners. Each one of us have particular roles that we're fulfilling for the business. So I'm leading operations like client outreach, sales, helping put together the estimates, managing the projects, things like that, and also helping with some of the engineering. My other partners are doing either engineering or design or like research and other tasks. So we're kind of doing what we're good at. So for me, I'm really struggling to kind of scale myself with the demands of the business. So if I don't get new business in, then we're not going to have a future. So I'm constantly chasing the new business, trying to cultivate the existing business that we have, do the really good work and get it out. But, to be able to close new business, it takes a big funnel at of new business to explore. So I'm like spread
Right.
all over the place.
Yeah, that sounds pretty challenging. Um, so what what are you feeling are the roadblocks that you're currently experiencing? The
Um,
big
hmm,
ones.
the big ones. Um, Probably just the unknown amount of time that it takes to complete customized estimates. That's the
Yeah.
big one, because it
So
could take.
yeah,
I'm not just going to throw out. Well, like I don't want to just throw out a number and then be wrong, and then the client get angry at me when I either undershot it, and then we have
yeah.
to go into these like change orders. That's my biggest fear. So I'm spending a lot of time trying to make sure I'm correct.
Okay. Just so I'm clear, what's a successful outcome of today's conversation, Henry?
Uh, I Successful outcome. I think if I just have a little bit of clarity and like a plan of action that I can either to improve myself or go back to my partners and have a successful conversation there to kind of figure out what we need to do to I guess scale things or create a better process, or not really sure.
All right. Yeah. You're kind of all over the place there,
I
aren't you,
am all
Henry?
over the place today.
Because Okay, let me tell you what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is that you have a challenge here where you have this startup, right? And you're trying to build this business, and it's a time management thing, right? You have all these different activities or tasks that you need to accomplish, and you're just getting overwhelmed. There's only so much time in the day, right?
Yep, correct.
So the opportunity in order, the first and foremost, before you can scale, is control what you have. Would you agree with that?
Sure, sure. Like manage the time
Okay.
that I have is what you're saying.
Okay. So think about it in buckets. You have different buckets, different tasks that you need to do, right? And each task is it's a bucket, and each bucket needs so much time and effort given to it.
Hmm.
When you're thinking about each of these buckets, what are you strongest at?
Um, I, well, what am I strongest or what do I like the most?
What are you strongest at? Was the
Strongest.
question.
Oh, okay. Um, I think I'm strongest at probably the relationship building, the understanding the client's needs, and you know, yeah. And I think just creating the opportunities. Like those are
Yeah.
where, at least right now, where I'm strongest.
Okay. And what's your weakest area?
My weakest is uh,
Time management.
probably time management. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like a couple of bucket things. You know, what I find really interesting is that I am terrified at being wrong when I'm working with these clients. So it's one thing to be at Google where I could be wrong and someone will say, "Well, what did you learn, Henry?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, you know, I planned for 6 weeks, but it took us 3 months to execute. Sorry, I'll fix it next time." With this time, like developing work for other clients, they're paying us money. They're on budgets. We're trying to create and maintain a reputation that we have. And so I know that estimating software development projects is not like a science or an art per se. And you can be wrong to an extent, but you have to manage that. And so I'm terrified at kind of letting my clients down. And so I put in an extraordinary amount of effort on trying to be as close to where I need to be. The problem is that you don't then close every deal. So there's a lot of upfront work that I'm putting into for somebody that may say yes or no. You know what I mean? It's just like that whole cycle is
Ah,
very long.
okay. Yeah. And what's the problem with that?
The problem is that each client's needs differ. So sometimes it could be, okay, I've worked on this type of product before and I can get a general idea of what they want. And then I present a vision to them and what we think that we're going to do. And then they'll say, great, here's some tweaks. Then we go do it and it's fine. Something could be a project that we're familiar with, but outside our comfort
Yeah.
zone, where we just have to do some more diligence to be correct. Like
Okay.
one project was way outside my comfort zone. I had experience in the area, but it was very far out. It took me like 2 months to basically get it done because I was researching it, making sure I was right. I I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah. I'm curious. So there are people out in the marketplace that do that kind of work where they do project estimates and that's kind of their superpower or their strength.
Uh, Perhaps. When we were at Google, we used to have like project managers that would help us, or product
Hmm.
managers rather. Like
Yeah.
PMs would go through the process of trying to create the scope of work, and then and then all of the stakeholders, like the engineers and everyone else, would kind of like give our estimates, and then we work
Right.
together as a team. But where I struggle with is that we were often wrong. And why were we wrong? It was either scope creep because we couldn't manage the project correctly, where other stakeholders were
Hmm.
giving us new requirements, and that you can kind of manage in the with clients where you're just kind of like trading things off,
Hmm.
or it was just we didn't spend enough time understanding the technical requirements, and then it would take us like 3 times as long. Let's say we choose a new technology, and so I'm faced with a lot of new technologies that were exploring and making sure that is the right fit for that client.
Okay. Well, like I said, it sounds really challenging. So this is a process. Is it nice to have or is it must have?
This is a critical project, a critical process for sure.
Critical
Yeah,
part. Okay.
absolutely.
So this is not something you get paid for either. Is that correct?
Um, no, it's just part of the service we offer. So if a client
Okay.
chooses to work
All
with
right.
us, that's great. But this is an investment
Great.
in, you know, the projects
Okay.
that we want to
All
work
right.
on.
So thinking there's only 24 hours to the day and you
Hmm.
only have so much time during the day, um, then, and this is a critical part of your business, in an ideal world, what would it look like in order to manage this particular area, given that you had unlimited resources to be able to do it?
Unlimited resources.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably have. I'd probably have a team specifically uh, set up for doing this task. Um,
Okay.
you know, because yeah, because it is important. So I'd probably have a group of people that are going
Okay.
through and making sure that this is done.
And I take it the other people on your another team would be doing current work. Is that what you're envisioning? This team would just basically they might be brought in at the end to verify the results, but basically other another team would be doing work, ongoing work that's going on, but this team would be focused on creating quotes, creating project details in order to close
Yeah,
business. Is that
I
what I'm
think
hearing?
yeah, I think the parallel or the similarity there is kind of how like cloud sales works, where you have a team
Hmm.
of salespeople, but they're not very technical, and then there's like
Yeah.
these solutions consultants that come in and
Hmm.
understand the technical piece. They listen to
Yeah.
the requirements, they come up with a technical solution, then they kind of like help put the deal together. But they're not really salespeople. They're nerdy engineer type at
Hmm.
times.
So people who are focused on that.
Yeah, like focus on that.
Okay.
They help put it together and do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how many people do that in your company currently?
So I guess all of us take part in a lot of
Okay.
the estimates because each of us have different domains of
Okay.
domain experience and expertise, and
Okay.
so yeah, it's part of like our workday, and
Okay.
yeah,
And who's doing the current work that you already have going on?
the same people. We're all working on it.
Yeah.
So we're all. It's like the part that I can't kind of figure out right now is I get that we need to probably scale this at some point, but we're like a small scrappy startup. Have we gotten in a ton
Yeah.
of money yet to be able to grow? No. So it's like, at what point do we just keep going like this and then say, okay, we need to add people? That's where I'm struggling a little bit. It's like that
Okay.
balance
But
of, yeah,
what I'm hearing is it's not working currently how you're doing it.
no. So I can't tell
Meaning,
if it's me, like I can be more efficient, or I just need to just maybe hire people. But then what if I don't have a need for them later on? Like what if it's just me?
okay. Well, what's the opportunity of hiring people on a contract or a part-time basis?
Well, I got to find them, train them, make sure that they're, able to do
Hmm.
the project. So
Okay.
basically, it's gonna take some effort to kind of create that process and
Yeah.
that system and get it
And,
going.
and what are you going to get on the back end?
I will have time to do things that are important.
Okay, so let me pause here. What are you getting out of this conversation so far?
You do this to me every time. That I should be looking at the problem a little differently, as opposed to like just I need to work more or I need to be more diligent with my time. Maybe I need to actually just take a step back, look at the what needs to be done, how could it be done more efficiently. Where's probably my value, perhaps. What do I get out of it? Because yeah. Sure.
Okay. I got a suggestion for you. If you're, can I share that with you? That might
Yeah.
help.
Go for it.
Create a pie, okay, like a pie chart,
Okay.
and see where all your time is being spent. All right, but do one for now and do one with future work that you already either have committed to or you see coming up.
Hmm.
All right, and then compare where the time is being spent currently and what you have coming up, and then use those two charts to decide how you're going to fill in the blanks
I see.
or the gap.
Well, how do I know when it's the right time to then do that? Like, meaning like actually
Uh,
take the action. So, for example, in my mind, I keep saying, well, this is just temporary until we get going. Or is
what's
that a
temporary?
wrong, that the kind of amount of time that I need to dedicate to all these things to get it going? Because we're still early state, kind of early in the business.
Okay. Well, again, what is going to be temporary and what is going to be ongoing?
Oh, I see.
Is right? Doing these quotes and analysis going to be ongoing? So you have, let's say work planned for the next 3 years. Is that what you're hoping for? Is that the kind of business you want, or are you looking to not take on those types of projects? And get smaller time deliverables. I don't know, but it seems like when I hear you, you haven't really put together the plan in such a way that you're really clear. What kind of business are you looking for? How much time can you? How is that plan going to work in the initial stages to bring in business? And then plan it out how you're going to scale.
I
You
see.
know, I'm kind of hearing a little bit, and correct. I may not be right, but I'm kind of feeling like you're biting off big chunks of potential work, and you don't have the infrastructure to handle it.
I think, yeah, yeah. Building the business has been harder. I mean, everyone, like you read these books and they make it so easy, right? It has been harder than I anticipated. And the
Hmm.
hardness comes from, I guess, making sure that I am prioritizing my time correctly when fires happen, because fires happen, that I'm uh, you know, uh, putting them out and then getting back on track somehow. So,
Somehow,
yeah, somehow, somehow.
pretty ambiguous there.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. I
so
guess, yeah,
you know, my dad used to say, plan your work, work your plan, right? And it doesn't sound, again, I don't know particularly, like you really are working a plan. You're kind of just working it and things are coming in and you're handling it the best you can.
yeah. That's how it has been. What I've been trying to
Hmm.
do lately, because early in the business, we were really fortunate that we had like a flood of leads come in, and so I've been sorting through them and
Hmm.
then trying to build a business off of all those opportunities. Uh, is now that things are getting a little bit less chaotic, I've been trying to just say, okay, well, what is one or two things that I could do today that at the end of the day I would feel satisfied with my day? So they're like trying to pick like one or two of the most important things that I can do,
Hmm.
and then the context switching happens throughout the day because different things come up, and then I either get it done or I don't, and the context switching kind of throws me off a lot.
Hmm.
So I think it's like a bunch of things, like you said earlier, that I'm kind of all over the place. I think it's true. Handling context has not always been my strongest thing. It's context switching. It's like it took me a really long time when I was leading at Google to get to learn how to manage that really well. And now I'm in a completely
Hmm.
different environment. We're like a little over 90 days in, maybe 100 days in so far. And I'm still trying to figure that out because the needs change every day. It's
Yeah.
like when you
Yeah.
start getting
Tough.
clients, you then got to set up the bank account, which means you have to set up the accounting system, and then got to have like
Yeah.
all different demands that come through.
So here's what my experience is, and I've had a number of businesses, right? One is if you go and undercapitalize and you're bootstrapping to the point that it's just bogging you down, and you're just kind of like picture yourself trying to swim through a thick sea of mud, okay? Kind of tough because you're undercapitalized. You don't have the resources you need in order to do this business. Not to say that you have everything you possibly could need, where you have extra resources, but have the resources you need in order to have a viable growth. That's why people go out and raise money for these startups that are in the millions of dollars, because if they have any chance of creating the product that they're looking to create, they need the infrastructure to begin with. Okay, you can't. You asked me earlier about scaling, when to scale. You don't scale when you need it. You scale in anticipation of your needs. So you're scaling before you need it. And you're looking at trends and seeing where you're going and what seems to be happening. And yes, there is a level of risk. Don't get me wrong. Right. But what you're feeling is you're undercapitalized when it comes to resources. All right. And the one big resource, which is time, is limited. And you're just like, you're trying to keep all the balls going. And it sounds like it is or it's going to be an impossible task.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, well, I guess
So
it is. Yeah, I guess it really it's
that's what
becoming
you're
that,
telling
and
me.
I see that. I guess
Right.
I'm enjoying the hustle. I'm not dreading my day. It's just you know there's a lot to do.
But are you achieving the outcomes you need to achieve now? And certainly, do you have the resources to achieve the outcomes that you need coming up? I mean, one of the things you mentioned to me, you have a big quote. Do you have the
Hmm.
resources to do it and continue to do the things you need to do as far as operating your business?
Yeah, well, I think I hadn't realized the value in probably having a team just dedicated to quoting, because like we've brought on someone to help with the leads, and that's been great. So I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to respond to everything now. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but then, thinking about like how that would work, like that's an area that I didn't even think of. Like I was assuming that it's always the execution part that we would, want to have more formalized process and scale. So it's like, where do I need the engineers? And that's the stuff that I do all the time, or used to do at least,
Mm-hmm.
was, oh, we need engineers for this, we need this, we need a project manager there. Like that's piece of cake. Like I can figure that out. The part that is interesting in this phase is like as is when have you hit the maximum of of the client work, the capacity that we have, right? Like the incoming funnel. Like when is it too big? When is it too small? When is it that fear
Mm-hmm.
of being a small business owner and saying, well, what's the next deal? Where is that coming from? Is that pipeline big enough? Is there enough leads in that pipeline to then keep us going? And so, yeah. And so what I'm getting at is that I think you made me realize that maybe there is like an element of that of the business that's needed that I need to look at. Like this is a team of these quoters, so to speak.
Well, you just said the fear is making sure there's enough in the funnel and
Yeah.
lining up future business,
Yeah.
right?
Because
That's the fear. How do you overcome that fear?
I don't know, just do it.
Have the people in place or have the resources in place to be able to focus on that. Because there's okay, in business, there's a number of different hats you got to wear, right? One is the salesperson, bringing in the business.
Hmm.
Two, another one will be then to analyze the business because that's part of what you do, right? Third is the execution of the business. 4 is all the support things you need to do to keep the business going, like accounting or, or HR or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all the aspects of the business and customer service, by the way. You got to stay in touch with the
That's right.
client.
Yeah.
So these are, now what I'm envisioning for the most part, Henry, you're doing most of these jobs with some support from your team that you currently have together.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And why are we having this conversation?
Because I'm struggling with this.
Because it's not working.
Oh, yeah.
You've
That's right.
grown to a size already where there's just not enough time. So you need more resources. So where do you get those resources? One of the things you just mentioned was maybe I got to bring a team on, 1 or 2 people in such a way that they can help with the quotes. You said you already had a salesperson,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it goes back to what I said earlier. When business startups, they want to make sure they have enough capital and resources in order to grow that business. Because if they don't have it, what happens?
Yeah. Then they fail, or they just see what. Yeah. They just, one of my earlier businesses many, many, many years ago, I never really understood how to scale. That was part of the reason why I really enjoyed my time
Mm-hmm.
at Amazon and Google. But now I guess having been back in that entrepreneurial state again, what I notice is that I know how to scale the execution team, but the business scaling itself is I'm gonna have to relearn some of these things. And I'm applying a lot what I
Okay.
learned. Obviously, you were coaching me through all of this stuff, which is great. But yeah, it's I don't want to grow too fast. I don't want to invest in the wrong areas. Like I think you had it made me realize a good point that I need to look at the problem a little differently than just like maybe it's not time management. I've been trying to work on that, but maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just I need to find where the value's at. So it's like if I add another engineer, I have more opportunity to like execute on projects, and that's a capacity thing. But if the pipeline is kind of broken, that like business development pipeline is broken, and I can't handle it, no matter how many engineers I have, if I have too little or too like I get that, but I probably need to streamline the this quoting process because it is taking up each one takes a different amount of time.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like this might be a good time to move towards wrapping this conversation up.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do is, what do you get out of this conversation? What's the ahas or the takeaways that you got from speaking with me today, Henry?
Yeah, I think that the I think for me the biggest aha is that sometimes I need to just take a step back, relax, and look at the problem in a different lens. And I think it happened like that early on where you had said, where I started describing how kind of Google tackles these big cloud things where they have a specialized team dedicated to that. And it dawned on me that I was serving that. I was like, yeah, I'm serving that role. I'm doing that. But maybe I actually need to look at hiring someone part-time or on a contract basis to do these things because it's worth it. And that was probably the big
Yeah.
aha.
Okay. Great. I will tell you, I worked some in the grant bidding business, coached some folks in that, and what I learned is they have a dedicated person that just puts together the quotes writes out the bids, okay, for 'em. So it's kind of the same thing, right? Writing out the scope and understanding exactly what the client's need are and what you're going to need what you're offering, right?
Hmm.
Same kind of thing. So, and Google works this way as well. So you've seen where companies do that. All right, great. So that's great. Any other aha or takeaways from today?
Um, yeah, that clearly I'm all over the place. I think I need to I don't need a vacation. I think I just we need to do this again so I can work
Okay.
out all the little things that I'm struggling with. Yeah, because you know what? The other aha is that, like, it's just, I think this is just totally normal, right? Uh, it doesn't sound like you were mentioning it. You've been through this or you've had similar
Uh-huh.
experiences. So uh, I think it's just like, I'm not alone
Yeah,
in
it's part
this
of the
journey.
learn. It's part of the growing pain. But what I want you to do, Henry, is to learn from it and not just have it, affect you, but do something about it. Take some action, which is a great segue into, based on today's conversation, what actions do you see yourself taking and when?
Yeah. Okay. So, and the viewers can hold me accountable on this as well, besides you. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my partners. I'm going to go talk to them about this and the aha that I just had, and see where we can figure out a way to kind of allocate some funds um, to streamline this, because it is important, it is critical, and we have to get it right. And I want to get it right, you know.
Okay.
And so I think looking at that problem differently. So that would be the
All
one
right.
action. The second thing is probably coming up with a plan to just, in the meantime, until we figure that solution out, is how I can dedicate more time to that and be more diligent about, um, you know, about spending the right amount of time. Maybe
Okay.
block off a different part of my calendar for these.
When do you see yourself working on these two action items?
Um, Good question. Well, I actually have a meeting with my partners in a few hours, so I'll probably bring it up then, start that
Okay,
conversation,
great.
and then I will have to make time to go do the pie chart as you suggested, and just kind of think through how I'm going to get through the short term.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Any other actions you want to take?
Um, no, I don't think so. Is there? Did I miss anything?
Okay. Just asking the question. And you already talked about accountability. So
Hmm.
our viewers can hold Henry accountable. We can check in with him and see how this project is going in this journey. I'm here, obviously, if I can help Henry. But sounds like you got at least a path forward on solving this challenge that you currently have. So thank you for allowing me to coach
Yeah.
you today.
This is great. Thank you, Jonathan. It's always it's always great, and this has been fun doing a live, unedited, coaching session too. So yeah, and if any of
Good.
my clients are watching out there, like that's why your quote is delayed, because I'm spending so much time on it.
I'm helping, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Cool. Well,
Great.
I really got a lot out of today. This has been very helpful.
Hopefully, the
Thank you, Jonathan.
viewers did as well, and they gave them some ideas of how to approach some time management challenges or business growth challenges. That's what we're hoping to share with the folks. And if you have any questions or about how I coached, or Henry, or any questions or around how to grow a business, or how to grow a team, or when to scale a team, please send your questions out to us and we'll get back to you.
Cool, cool. And for those that are curious, we'll put Jonathan's information in the description. But do you want to just tell folks how they can get in touch with you directly if they're interested?
Yeah, sure. So I have a website. It's Biz Advantage, but it's spelled BIZADVANTEDGE. So like an edge, Biz Edge. So if you look at that, I also am on LinkedIn, so you certainly can find me there as well.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Cool. And in closing, again, you've been watching the Leadership Lab, and I am Henry Kirk.
And I'm Jonathan Aronson.
And have a great rest of your day.